Hello, it's Liam from the Thoth Witchcraft shop, and I'm here to give you a public apology. I took part on Paranormal TV, an interview called Crystal Bitches with Chris, and I was rather unkind to, at best, beginner witches, not to mention, well, they're not really witches, are they? Beginner witches that like to collect shiny things, such as crystals. In it, I did state that they were contributing a lot towards the death of poor innocent children, namely one called Jade. I do apologise for this, and although what I said is 100% accurate, I know you people that like to collect crystals don't like the thought of a fragment of some poor little girl called Jade's soul in your crystals when you're buying them. I know that that might contribute towards buyer's guilt, and that you really don't want to feel guilty when you're buying that shiny new thing to add to a little box full of other shiny new things. So I do apologise for bringing that up. That was on the episode Crystals Bitches, which was supposed to be called Crystal Bitches, but someone cocked up the title, on the Feisty Witches show on Keep On Chatting Paranormal TV. Again, I do apologise for offending you people that like to contribute towards Jade's demise as the crystal mine collapsed on her head. And I know that all of you people that collect the crystals and are wave them about know an awful lot more about magic than what I know. So, now I've given my public apology, let's crack on with the episode of the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast. Hello and welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast with Liam and Chris. Today we're talking about the allure of magical objects, what they can do, how you make them, and why no one's bothering to make any decent ones these days from what it seems. So Chris, what do you think about the magical objects
What do you mean?
that are on the market these days?
You can't go on Instagram without seeing a new necklace and earrings that match.
Are they magical? Do you think they're? Do you think if you took that crystal that's setting it off, you'd find a bunch of graveyard dirt and stuff behind, like on Lady Poison's jewelry? Do you think that you'd find that on these
No,
these Instagram and Etsy shops?
I doubt it. I doubt it myself. But I
Okay.
think that's the image they are trying to sell, aren't they?
Yes. You do note a point there, I think.
The aesthetic.
Witchcraft these days is all about the aesthetic and the image, isn't
Yeah.
it? We're all trying to sell an image. I got my leather jacket on because I've been doing the paranormal stuff. Because you need to have a dark leather jacket, or at least just wear some black if you're doing the paranormal
Definitely.
stuff.
When are we getting monogram
and scowl a
t-shirts?
bit.
When we getting Feisty Witches t-shirts?
Feisty Witches. This isn't the Feisty Witches
I know
show,
it's
Chris.
not.
We're not supposed to talk about
But you've already
that.
done your public apology, so we're going to mention it because it's on the beginning of this episode for them.
Hashtag sorry not sorry, isn't that what they say? Is that what the kids say?
That's what the big orange
Sorry,
man
not
says.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry.
Big orange man. Okay, so magical objects, like from back in the day, because you look at all the mythology and that, and all the gods and goddesses, and all the heroes and stuff.
Excalibur.
They all got these magical objects. Yeah, by the power of Grayskull and all that crap. Modern mythology. That's modern mythology for you. Is that Thundercats?
No, that's He-Man.
Thundercats? Or is that something else? That's
He-Man.
He-Man, right, okay.
Bloody hell, Liam.
Which is the Excalibur then?
Excalibur is Arthur. You should know that. How long did you spend working with him last year?
Well, this is true. I mean, the sword in the stone, it didn't have a name. It was just, I was told, there's the sword in the stone, you've got to pull it out. I was like, right, okay.
Yeah.
And that sword in that stone don't look the same for everyone either.
But
it's all different.
All good swords have to have a name, remember? They have to have a name.
They do say that, don't they? They do say that. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, magical objects. So Are we talking haunted objects and the like today, or are we talking other stuff?
No, I think we're talking about magical objects that have real power, as opposed to going to make a few things float.
What, you mean that when I watched that Deadly Possessions TV show with the Americans on it, that they got all haunted by dolls and by cabinets that cursed them and that? You mean they're not real powerful objects?
No.
But they've been on television.
I don't care.
They've killed the people.
Yeah, but
no. What would you class as a powerful object?
So do the occasional cow falling on somebody kills somebody. I don't think that makes the cow a magical object.
What makes the magical object a magical object?
Or
what makes it a powerful magical object?
Well, one that can last beyond the maker is for me what makes a powerful object a not powerful object.
But all of these haunted things, their makers have died like back in the 1900s and that.
Yeah.
So they're still around.
But it's not the power of it that keeps it going, is it? It's the spirit that they left attached that's slowly wearing off and eating people.
Well, I thought it was the marketing company that works with the Most Haunted TV show or the Ghost Hunters or that. I thought they keep it going. And they're using some sort of vestigial magic where attention goes, energy flows and all that.
Yeah.
Do you think these people that are making these museums and stuff where they get a paranormal TV show and then they put all this tat in a museum and then they charge for admission, do you think that they put all this tat on the TV programs because it's entertaining, or do you think that they start putting objects on there because they think, I know a little bit about magic, if I give it a story and make people believe that story, then things will start to manifest? Do you think they know that much?
I'm not sure they do.
Or not? No?
I'm not going to lie.
But they've just got to go on the Thoth TV YouTube channel to find that stuff out. Surely they know that.
But I don't.
I mean, I'd like to think that one of the 10 subscribers we have is a paranormal person from a TV show or something.
Well, maybe. But no, I think for me are where the works have been crafted on purpose for great works. So I don't think they should necessarily be. I don't think a haunted doll is what I would consider a great work. Would you?
Well, I don't know. I think it depends on how haunted the doll is. I think if I was to make a haunted doll and I put some effort in, that'd be a masterpiece. I think that haunted doll would do some creepy ass stuff, I have to say.
If it's I suppose if it's pulling people into other dimensions and whatever, then yes, I probably would. But I don't think it would be quite as cool as, the Jumanji set we want to make.
Yeah, the Jumanji game. Okay. We'll talk about that on the Patreon. Okay. We're going to make a real-life Jumanji game which produces a paranormal stuff and makes it happen. But we'll talk about that on the Patreon.
Let's do that.
Because, we can't give all that stuff away for free, can we? No. We've got to talk about the mundane stuff, like all of the magical objects that you can go and find in the Witchcraft Museum and stuff, before we talk about all of the secret stuff that you don't see on display. So, okay.
Yeah, well, let's start there.
We're doing a little...
Start there.
I was going to talk about our little series we got coming.
Do that first.
For the YouTubes, yeah? Because we got to plug our shit, Chris.
Okay. I keep forgetting to do that.
We don't do enough of that. We got to do that. Yeah. Right. So we're going to do this a little YouTube series because we've been talking a lot about the paranormal investigation with real-life paranormal investigators. And they are real life because they got matching T-shirts that tell you that they're paranormal investigators. So it's proper legit stuff. And we found that a lot of the paranormal investigators in their investigations of a paranormal nature are coming across the magically haunted objects and they're getting scared and running away. And they've hit a kind of block in their investigation. They turn up, something to happen, they don't know why it is and can't explain it and can't understand why it is or how it happened or why or any of that stuff. So now are we as being asked on Paranormal TV and such, on the Facebook, if we can explain a few things.
How it happening.
What we're going to do in this new little series we're going to take some magical objects and we're going to teach you how to make them at home. It's going to be very art attack
Yeah,
slash Blue
art
Peter
attack.
make. Remember that?
Yeah, but are you
Yeah.
going to be the head?
I'll be the head.
To be fair, you do look a little bit like the head if we shaved all your hair off.
Shut up. Shut up. That used to creep me out. I tell you what, that head, I was scared to death of it when I was a kid. When my nan used to put Art Attack on, as soon as that head used to come on, I used to scream and she'd have to come in and sit and watch it with me because I was too scared to watch it. There was something about that head that I was scared to death of as a kid. A bit like when you watch that film with the weird, like, Darth Maul type thing.
Oh, Insidious. Yeah, that proper freaks me out.
That freaked you out for like
It
a
did,
good week,
a whole
didn't
week.
it?
And it was only like three seconds of the whole
We don't know
movie.
why.
3 seconds of the whole
Yeah.
movie. And yeah, I was freaked out for weeks. I was seeing his face
So, yeah,
everywhere.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for our investigations of a paranormal nature into the what is it called, disassembling of magical objects and the teaching you of how you can make your own magical objects.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to crack on with the proper podcast now and talk about like magical objects and the allure of magical objects. So it's Malum Malus. Where does that come from?
Or where did we take?
Sabrina.
Yeah.
We stole it from
Stole it
Sabrina.
from the new
like
version.
A lot of episodes. Like, Chilling Adventures. Like a lot of the podcast episodes, we stole it from pop culture.
Yeah. Because it makes us clickable, innit?
Yeah.
Right, so, no, what I was going to ask you was, what kind of objects are in the Witchcraft Museum that you would actually class as magical objects? Because obviously there are lots of objects with magic.
Nothing from the Wiccan department downstairs. None of Gerald Gardner's crap. None of Alexander's is crap. None of the Wiccan stuff. You go in and there's a nice little waxwork of an old cunning lady, and then a bunch of like board games and stuff to pad out the space, pop culture stuff. No one cares about that, let's be fair. You're just looking at that in the cabinet when you're queuing to buy your tickets. But it's there anyway because they can't fill up the space. Then you go upstairs into the big room, and that's where all the proper magic stuff is. And then on the way out, you go downstairs, and there's like a modern witchcraft of the 20th century, and it's all this Wiccan crap. They've got the poster board out and painted a bit of wood, basically, and a bunch of swords that aren't sharp, and we know how I feel about
we don't like blunt weapons.
And then in the area where you go out, you've got like a steamy kind of little rock pool kind of thing.
Yeah.
Remember that? It's like a little shrine that was obviously there. It was obviously some sort of leak that happened a couple of years ago. And they thought,
I'll make a feature of that.
Rock pool out of that. We'll make a feature out of that, yeah. And then you go out into exit through the gift shop, as Banksy would say.
No, definitely. But but what in there would you actually class as an actual magical object? Because I wouldn't, there are lots of amulets and all that kind of shit. I probably wouldn't count any of those. You've got all the ceremonial parts of the regalia for the Golden Dawn, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, all that kind of stuff. Wouldn't include that.
Is there any of that in there?
There was there was all the staffs and stuff on the way out. Swords and stuffs that you were talking about.
That was the Wiccan shit.
Yeah, there was some Golden Dawn stuff there as well.
Stuff. Was there Golden Dawn? No, there was that was Rosicrucian.
Oh, sorry, I always get those two mixed up.
Yeah, the Rosicrucians really like the poster paints. The Golden Dawns actually had enough money to make like actual sculptures and stuff. They had like the real gold stuff instead of like the fake gold paint,
So you kind of skip past all that kind of stuff. The only things I'd probably include is like the dunking stool. That's probably magical.
Which wasn't intended to be magical.
Like you know what I mean? The accidental magical stuff.
Killer magic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would class anything that was designed to have a magical operation or designed to be used for magical workings and retains that magic to be a magical object.
Oh, okay.
So
your bar's a lot lower than mine.
Skulls as, you could, because again, at the end of the day, that's what you're kind of expecting. You're kind of expecting that Divok box. Well, it's magical, isn't it? A scientist who's a Dawkins type ain't going to look at that and think, Yeah, there's something paranormal going on there. It's just going to see a
Just going to
box.
see a box.
What makes it magical?
Yeah.
What makes it magical is the fact that it's got things living in it, or
Okay.
forced to live in it.
I
as
take your
such.
point.
So I'd say anything magical. That bottle that you're drinking from, not very magical. The plastic bottle.
Yeah, but it's now got
Whereas,
my DNA on the end. It's probably going to do something.
yeah, but again, that's not necessarily magically created specifically for something, is it? If you pissed in that bottle and turned it into a witch bowl, that would be a magical object
Okay.
then. But if it's like accidentally, it's got a little bit of residual energy, I wouldn't have said that's really magical. I'd say that that's just a bit like a shit stain.
Oh, rude.
A magical
shit stain. That is gross. Okay. Not only did you lower the bar, you lowered the tone. Well done.
I know. I think I might have to click. I might have to click the explicit tab as well for the end of this one. So remind me to do that.
Okay. So if you're setting the bar that, okay, then in that case we could talk about all sorts of things on that front. Because on that front, it could be anybody that's enchanted a necklace, for example, to get a job,
Magic.
or or has enchanted a bracelet to make sure that keeps the little one safe when they go in to school and stuff. Like, you could pretty much include anything.
Why would you want to do that?
What? So the paedophiles don't get them.
Why would you want to do that? I suppose.
Protect them from the paedophiles, isn't it?
I've never had kids.
Luckily,
We keep
this is
getting
very
loads of
true.
patrons messaging and stuff. Keep getting loads of patrons messaging and stuff. We've had 2 new patrons in the space of since this started. Do you think they want to listen to the? Do you think that we've somehow, from doing this episode, cast out some sort of a magical spider's web?
We've been tickling the spider's
like
web,
that?
have we?
I don't know. Have we been tickling the spider's web, like Paul says, and now we've got a load of patrons keep flocking to the Patreon because they wanted to hear the extended edition of this very episode. I hope they're not disappointed. I do hope they're not disappointed.
Can you stay on topic for once, please?
I'm really sorry. Once you get okay, I will write out a card whereby it says Liam will stay on topic for 1 episode and mail you that card. You're only allowed to use it once though. Would you want to use that on this episode?
No, probably not.
Then the answer is no, I'm not going to stay on topic.
Okay.
You tell me when you want to use that card and I will damn right stay on topic if it kills me.
So I would say my bar's a little bit higher than that. I only get excited when you are crafting very special tools. So if you were, say, creating the regalia for a priestess in order to hold court.
So what, like a Wiccan priestess? If you made some
No.
horny hat for a priest and like some chalicey crap for the priestess? Well, that's a regalia for a priest or priestess. So are you saying that a magical object's magical as long as it's not a Wiccan? Because I think that's going too far, Chris.
Oh, they'll be playing the... Well, I suppose they can't play the racism card at least. Because Wiccans are not a race. But, Anyway, Yet.
I hear they're breeding.
Oh,
there are breeding.
Oh dear. But yeah, so I'm thinking more of a case of in ancient times, the sorts of pieces that are buried with you because they have got too good a charge.
Okay.
Or the amulets that...
A broken clay pot?
No. or the death mask and wrappings of a mummy, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So when they've been crafted for a specific purpose and a specific working.
Yeah. So what are you saying? Are you saying that if I unbind a mummy and find all those pretty little amulets in there, they're magical, but if I go down to the Witchcraft Museum and find some amulets carved out of clay from the 1800s, that's not magical? Is that what you're saying? Because that sounds like that's what you're saying.
I kind of am.
It seems to be a matter of time.
More so.
You have no appreciation for modern magic, do you? Anything past newer than the Romans, you have no appreciation for, do you?
That's not strictly true.
Answer that question. That is the question. Tell me right now if there's anything you can appreciate magically that is newer than the Roman period.
Yes, I do quite like the Celts. They've got some gorgeous pieces going. What I have a lack of appreciation for is anything crafted in the last 200 years, but that's not my fault. That's just because there are shit practitioners about crafting shit.
You do realise that our listeners are practitioners, and some of them might do a crafting. I bet there's some little old lady sat listening to this and knitting because she mentioned something on her Alexa device and we popped up.
Oh God.
Yes, that does actually happen. That does actually happen. If you say, "Hey Google," or "Alexa, play No Holds Barred Witchcraft," it'll actually bloody play it. I know because I did it at Auntie Beryl's and she was amazed that like I came on her talking about random things.
Oh, bless her. I bet she
I was
loved
like,
that.
"Auntie Beryl, you know I've got my own radio show, don't you, Auntie Beryl?" She's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I've got my own radio show." She said, "No, you haven't." I said, "Get Alexa to say this. Say this to Alexa." And she's like, "Oh, bloody hell, any Alexa?" I said, "Yeah. Now don't ever listen to it and don't ever tell anyone in the family about it, okay?" She's been blackmailing me ever since.
I bet. Well, you got to have learnt it from somebody, let's face it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're off topic again, however much I love Auntie Barrel. So yeah, it's not, I don't know. I haven't seen any of these objects. Maybe it's because I'm not invited to the right parties. Maybe that's the fact. Maybe I've not been invited to the right parties where they've got the really cool amulets and regalia, but I haven't seen them. Whereas I only need to be in kind of 200 yards of some of these ancient pieces, and I can feel in the energy that is radiating off them. That is the difference. I don't need to get me detector
Okay.
out. I don't need to get me metal detector out or whatever, like I own one, but I don't need to get a metal detector out to go and find them because those sorts of things have such a residual energy thousands of years after they were created for you to go and find them.
Okay. So, have you received the little haunted Ouija board yet from a certain
No,
someone?
I've got to go collect that.
Right. So that's going to technically be classed by me as a magical object. If it's a Ouija board that's just a plain Ouija board that's got no charge or anything, then it's just
A
a
board.
board at the end of the day. But this one apparently has something attached to it, which to me that makes it a magical object now
Okay.
because there's a magic afoot.
Okay.
So would you class that as a magical object or not? And if you don't, what was it? What is it now?
I would say that was a
Because it's
haunted
not the plastic
object.
bottle you were drinking out. But is not hauntings magic?
No, because haunting suggests that
Oh,
there is something spirity attached into it. So that it's sticking around a particular object. To me, that's haunted.
right, okay. Because I can understand if you're looking at it from an umbrella terminology kind of perspective that magic's kind of an umbrella term and haunted would go under that umbrella. Much like I feel like you're coming from the position like my dad comes from, and I said, "You do all this magic," and he's like, "No, we pray." I said, "Yeah, evocation," and he's like, "No, it's prayer." I said, "It's a magic. You're a magic." I said, "Did Jesus, he did the magic?" He said, "No, Jesus did the miracles." I said, "It's all magic. Richard Dawkins says it's magic, so it's a magic, okay?" From an atheist perspective, it's all magic because
Yeah.
hauntings don't exist, Jesus don't exist, and the miracles are a magic. So are you saying that's not true? Are you saying that we put a hard line between a haunting and a magic? And why do you do that?
I'm only make
Because it's not right or
I'm
wrong.
only making that
It's not right
I'm
or
making
wrong,
that
is it?
distinction based on the fact of whether or not it's crafted in a way that was designed for it to have a specific charge. So to me, that would be a magical object. A haunted object would be
Hmm.
one where something has attached to said object, and therefore, so this particular item, although it's designed, when it's been used for its uses that it is designed for, it's, a magical object. But this one is a haunted object because it
Okay, so
happens when it's not
sentience,
being
is that where you're
used.
drawing the
I
line?
think so.
Okay, sentient. So if it's got a sentient spirit or something that's attached to it, then it's a haunted object, which is correct. I would just say that that also falls under the magical kind of thing,
Which I'm
because the magic's
which
afoot.
I'm not saying is a wrong. I'm just saying that when I think
Okay,
about them, my brain separates them, even though that's probably not the
okay,
definition.
right, okay, okay. So okay. So in terms of the magical objects and stuff like that, then, what was the last magical object that you saw or worked with or was around?
Well, are we going by my definition or yours?
Well, you can go by either definition, but I'm asking you, so I'm presuming it's going to come from your definition.
My definition would probably be something museumy. So it would probably when I was last in Greece and saw supposedly Agamemnon's death mask, like that sort of piece.
Right. Okay, so what was that designed to do? What vibe did you get from it in terms of what it would be used for and stuff?
As it was a transitional piece, so it was to make sure he got to where he was planning to go.
Okay, so is it like one of those the advert for the car I saw for people that do wheelchairs and they go into the car in the wheelchair and then they can reverse out of the car in the wheelchair? One of those disabled adaptation vehicles is it like
Yeah,
that. So he's got his physical body and then he attaches this a mask on when he's a dying or after he's a dying, and then that's like a
a
vehicle.
vehicle for
Is that what it
ascension.
is?
Yeah.
Okay. So a vehicle for ascension. So if you was to go and design that, a vehicle for ascension for some king or queen or something, and let's assume that you want to. Let's not assume that we're going to come on to this. Well, I wouldn't do that. Oh, why would I do that crap? Let's just
when
assume that you're going to
when do
do
I ever
it.
do that?
Let's just assume that you're going to do
Okay.
it. Yeah. What would you do in terms of what magical object would you craft? Would you do a death mask? Would you do something else? What would you do
I
and
I
why?
quite like a death mask. I'm not going to lie. I think
Right.
it's a lost art form. Um, but a death mask it could be a great way to do it. Me being me, I could potentially do that with a shroud also. A shroud has the potential to go
Mm,
and have that one because it's got that beautiful translucence to it that
yeah.
makes the crossing the veil a literal thing, and I quite like that. So me, I'd probably have woven the perfect shroud.
That's what I'd have thought that you'd do, textiles. I would have thought that if it
Not to
was
be
kind of like a death
predictable.
mask, I think death masks normally as plaster though, because of like the castings and that. But like death masks is in being made out of something like gold and that. I
Yeah.
can see that as well, but it feels like hard. It wouldn't feel like you know. And that's not the sort of crafts that you normally do, is it?
No.
I can imagine you doing shrouds and wrappings and stuff.
Yeah. I think I'd probably do a plaster cast or something like that. That would be quite cool because at that point you're
Mm,
holding on to a visage that will melt away as the body rots. So actually having a
mm,
physical cast of that person's face prior to when they're working
yeah.
away would be quite impressive. I think that would have a very different feel to it. Yeah, I'm not about to go and cast something in metal, but that's because it's not really my area of expertise.
Not your medium of
No,
choice.
not my medium of choice. But in a culture that was designed on paying through access,
Mm,
gold would be a much more appropriate method, I would say. But it was the saturnine energy coming through it. That transitional point was just fantastic.
mm,
Whether or not it was actually
okay.
Agamemnon,
So
I
it,
didn't touch or I wasn't able to touch and read
yeah,
it. But the question was like, there was clearly someone who had a lot of money paid for this death mask. So that was really quite cool.
okay. Well, you've Okay, so we're basically out of time now for the regular edition anyway. So goodbye, everyone.